All right, welcome. We're here for our fifth and final con match of the week here for week two, Cons of Tarkir League. And this is the Mardu. So, uncharacteristically, they're the final clan to complete their con match for the week. We got Jack H, the current con, against Steve T. And Mitch is going to tell us a little bit about his hand.
Banned colors somehow in the starting lands, but we have a three removal spells: suspension field, kill shot, and smite the monstrous. There's a river wheel aerialist, which is a big 6 drop that flies, a monastery flock. Oh, you're about to see everything, and this black card, which is uncastable. Oh
Well, we're
no,
about to
sorry, it's
see
not a
one thing.
it's a discard. I thought it was
Yeah.
a looking hand.
Yeah, so Jack kind of got bailed out by drawing a swamp here on his second and third turns, really, or third and fourth turns. I mean, he got the swamp on time. He didn't have the swamp to start, and he had three black cards in hand. So he has the Mardu's. Well, he played the Mardu Skull Hunter. He has an utter end, debilitating injury, and a War Name Aspirant, which is the red 2 drop.
Yeah, raid.
Yeah. So
I
without drawing a swamp, he would have only been able to play the Bondkin and the Hate Blade, uh, and I guess now the Aspirant. But
want
yeah,
will be a handy draw, and as I wanted to say that.
mhm.
He drew it because the last drop return was Sidisi Blood Tyrant. Not exactly sure what it does, but it's hard to cast, so it's got to be good, right?
Whenever it enters a battlefield or attacks, you mill 3 cards, and whenever you mill one or more creatures, you get a 2/2. So if you have other self mill spells, you can get additional 2/2s.
I was about to say Swamp would be a great draw because that was the last draw. And as soon as I was about to say that, Swamp came right into the hand. So three removal spells still in hand and the River Wheel Aerialist here.
So it looks like both players were fortuitous in drawing a swamp on time to deploy their spells. And Jack's not quite playing the Mardu deck that it might have seemed because he drew a Treasure Cruise for turn here. Still a ways away from casting it, uh, you know, without an island or a large graveyard yet. So interesting that Steve is blocking here, and I guess he had forgotten perhaps that there was a death touch there because he lost his monastery flock here, unfortunately.
So many stats gone. Throttle is a draw for turn, so another removal spell. Four removal spells now. It's
Yeah,
possible though.
so interesting from Jack. He said, I'm gonna block, or I'm gonna attack with only one of my first strikers because I want to potentially block Sidisi. I don't want him to get more zombies, but by killing the Bondkin, it's just a trade here, which I think Jack is still okay with getting the Sidisi off the board, and he gets another Skull Hunter here off the top. So taking apart
Smite the
Steve's
monster.
hand here.
Smite the monster says discard instead of throttle. Smite the monster says situational, but castable.
Yeah, I mean this doesn't look like a board where Smite the Monstrous is going to be of much help. Not too much going on for Jack. He has Utter End, which is castable. That's the rare that exiles any non-land. And he has two uncastables right now, Treasure Cruise and Burn Away, which costs 5.
Now I don't know what colors this mana taps for. You know if it's red because Mardu Heartpiercer to finish out all the colors was
No,
drawn now.
the Opulent Palace is a Salt Island.
All right, so uncastable card in hand then.
as uh, as we've seen in some of these matches, just
Only 4 colors. Let's draw something uncastable.
yeah.
Big
So
four.
let's. Okay, we got a 4/5 here, but unfortunately, Jack does have the answer to that in Utter End, and that's actually just going to be lethal because we have a prowess trigger to get him across the line here.
Not the utter end of the match, but it's the utter end of the game.
It's not the utter end of the match, but of the game, yes. So yeah, looking like a 5-color deck over there for Steve. But usually, what we see in 5-color decks is that they're base 2 or 3 colors and then branching out for the others. So Jack is running a Mardu deck with 3 blue cards, but has a lot of 2 drops, which is unusual in this format because most of the 2 drops aren't great. So he does have a lot to do on turn 2 if he gets
Yes.
his mana.
Speaking of two drops, well, he's scrolling down, but I see two removal spells in the two drop slot, an Air of the Wilds and a Disowned Ancestor. The only thing that costs less than 3 mana in the whole deck.
Yeah, that's a big that's a big deal. You don't want to. You do want to be able to affect the board early if you can. Like, you don't want to play bad 1 and 2 drops. Like, I see like a Firehoof Cavalry in Jack's deck here, which is like a 1/1 where you have to pay 4 mana to give it +2/+0. Like, that's a card I'm staying away from most of the time. But stuff like Mardu Skull Hunters, like, you need other 1 and 2 drops to make that card good, right?
It makes a lot of sense since there's the later in the league we're starting to get more and more tap lands, so you start playing those on turn 1 and 2 instead of developing a two drop a lot of the time.
Yeah, and like I was saying, the reason why that works okay in this format is because most of the 2 drops aren't that good.
Yeah,
Like, the premium 2 drops are uncommons. Like, the Enoch Bondkin maybe stands out as like a premium 2 drop at common, and the rest of them just like are uncommons and rares. So again, we see the problem with some of these mana bases here. So Jack's keeping a bit of a risky hand here, uh, if he once again does not draw his swamp.
well,
Um,
two or three hands that makes it then.
okay,
Well, you could do it, yeah. Five tap lands or Bitter Revelation and Assault Thy Soothsayer. Keru Smell Snatcher was just
I
fine.
love it. I mean, I love it. I don't know if it's going to work, but it's my kind of hand. One thing Jack does have going for him is there's 2 creatures he could cast, but he has 2 black cards right now, which he won't be able to play. But he has another play next turn with the Horde Ambusher. Um, we'll see if he wants to play that face up or face down here. Looks like he's gonna go for the face down. So that's the uncommon where you can show a red card from your hand.
I see. A free flip. The Snowhorn Rider was just drawn, which is that teamer 5 drop, 5 mana 5/5 basically, or 6 mana 5/5 with trample.
I mean, sounds like a creature that's gonna be in combat. Sounds like
Yep.
it's gonna trade with something here.
However, that was a spell snatcher that you just saw played. We have the background information knowing the hands here.
Oh, I love Spell Snatcher, but you just have to trade it off here. Yeah, and Steve knows. Yeah. So we see Jack here. He has 3 lands in hand, all that make red and white, and then he has 2 black cards. So bit of a messy hand here.
The number
Like I
of
said,
tricolor cards is off the scales here.
I did. Oh, so I did see a murderous cut get milled, which I'm sure Steve is not super thrilled about. And Jack has drawn another black card. So the story of this format sometimes, right?
Yeah,
3 black cards in hand, 2 right, up plains and a mountain, and it's going to be a bit of a rough go here. So Steve respects potentially some trick or kill shot or some other thing. So he's not entering Sidisi into combat, even though it appears he has a clean attack. And the Sultai Soothsayer actually does trigger the Sidisi
it,
because
yeah,
Sidisi just says when creature cards go from your library into the
free,
graveyard.
yeah, free tutus. But do you want to know what he got off of it?
Well, you're
Salt
about
Ice
to
is
tell us.
there.
Another one. Oh, I like it.
Yeah, let's see another zombie come out.
5 mana creature that draws a card.
Ooh, only
You're
one creature in there though, and it's an Abzan guide. Two throttles and a forest.
sounds like you just take the throttle and
Yep.
you make another 2/2. I mean, this game's getting a bit out of hand here. So another black card off the top is gonna pretty much spell the end here. Even with a swamp and him being able to land like his Butcher of the Horde, he's still behind here because of the throttle. So not much of anything was getting him out of that. Looking at his deck, he doesn't have a board wipe or anything like that. So yeah, we see the tale as old as time. Mana coming back to bite people, unfortunately, sometimes.
So have a nice long game this time, shall we? So, how many tricolor cards I count? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Look, the Mardu players do not want to play long games. All right, they want it done with one way or another.
So put in 500 tap lands and the color cards. Quick game.
Like,
We're gonna have a good one. I predict.
I did like what I saw from Steve's deck that game, even though there was a bit of a slow start there with all the tap lands, but didn't get punished because Jack couldn't get his mana online here, and now Jack has a 5 land hand that has all his colors. So any spells he finds will be castable.
This is
What's
over these decks, but there's two mulligans in now. Lands basically had a couple lands and not the colors of lands that were the cards in hand also were. So nothing castable kind of. Now we got three lands, so two islands, Dismal Blackwater, a Bitter Revelation for card draw, and a Kintry Warden. Woolly Loxodon, which is bound to come down soon, which as a morph, I should say.
Yeah, so Jack's got a Mardu Hate Blade, which he's played, a Bring Low, which is that 4 mana red burn spell, and a bunch of lands. And more lands drawn for the turn. So
Might be
this is
slow.
this is the one way that the mulligan from 5 can come back, is if the other player doesn't cast spells. That's it's always helpful.
This face down card is not the Loxodon. He decided to play the Regenerate
Yeah,
Kintry thing.
yeah, that's like the bottom of the barrel morph, basically.
If
Like
you're
that's
running into big creatures like a Loxodon or something, I guess it
I'm
works there.
surprised
But
they didn't just trade it off. Like the Kintry Warden is just so like not good. I
the
mean,
bluff, the
it's
bluff.
okay. Like I've played them, but I think as soon as you can trade it for something, you just do it because it's so small and irrelevant in a lot of game states.
So Steve is hovering over both of his four cost draw spells, which are black and blue with Weave Fate just drawn, and frustrated that he can't do either of them. But it's a matter of time. Although
So
there's a lot of tap lands he's going to draw into potentially.
interesting draw here with the Mardu Charm. So that's it's a pretty nice one. So again, he has Mardu Charm, Bring Low, and 2 lands. So he can interact with his opponent here if he wants to.
Double swing.
Interesting.
They take
I think he was thinking about flipping up his Horde Ambusher and maybe making the second morph not able to block. Um, the fact that Steve didn't block with the first morph the last turn indicates that maybe it was an important one. But turns out we're now seeing it's just a Kintry Warden.
Yeah, I
Normally,
might have bluffed.
if you're not willing to trade your opponent's like medium 1 or 2 drop for your morph, it's because that morph is good.
Yeah, sometimes I literally bluff and pretend it's a hard choice. There it wasn't, but if you snap block with one and not the other, it's like give some info. That's what makes this set a bit unique.
All right. So it sounds like there's a Weave Fate coming from
Yep.
Steve here, but he will have to discard a card from his hand.
Well, you could
So
draw first. You should draw first, in fact. Yeah.
yeah,
There's a bring low and a kill shot besides the Bitter Revelation as well. Savage Knuckleblade and Siege Rhino. Some power here.
he's got the wrong lands to cast those though. He needs green green for the Rhino and then green and red for the Knuckle Blade.
Bitter Revelation gives some selection. Decides to get rid of the
I
Knuckleblade.
think Jack is thinking of potentially maybe he was thinking of potentially using Mardu Charm for its discard effect. It's basically like a duress,
Yeah.
but it's instant
Steve,
speed. So
Steve does
it,
not want to miss the land drop, so getting this one out now.
this is a very rare instance of a instant speed hand disruption spell. You don't usually see those anymore at
Which
all.
card is that?
The Mardu charm. It can one of the
Oh yeah,
modes is to basically
yeah,
cast duress.
yeah.
Um,
Instant speed.
yeah, so if
Not
you
much,
do ever have that and want to use it, you can use it on your opponent's draw step, and it can be pretty devastating.
not much pressure here. Steve really wishes he found some sort of green source because Rhino is a good way to stop the pressure, the small amount of pressure that's going on anyway.
Yeah, I mean the 3 a turn does add up, but he will at least play something here that looks like it may be able to block. Is that the
That is
which
five trampler. I don't remember the
okay,
name now.
the
Snowhorn.
Snowhorn Rider? Yeah. So I think
Oh,
Jack
yeah.
is probably going to kill the morph here. Oh no, he's actually going to kill the Keru Blood Sucker. Yeah, that card. It looked like that card looks like it's like a build around, like do the thing and profit, but it was very slow. Being a 3 mana 2/2 that trades with morphs is a pretty bad starting point.
I don't know about that not block there because the first green he's gonna get is going to the Seed Rhino probably, and he has to spend green to flip this up. Maybe you wanted to get that Death Toucher out of the way while he can't even
Yeah,
flip it.
interesting that he didn't try and save life points here without too much going on. Like, obviously, we know we know three damage a turn when your opponent's at 10 versus 2 damage a turn when your opponent's at 22. Not so good. So Steve unfortunately has to use his bring low here on this Skull Hunter. Not quite what you're hoping to target, but
Oh,
Jack just has lands here, so Steve
great
still
draw
has
here. The 6 drop 4/5 flyer River Wheel Aerialist also has more.
Yeah, well, that's gonna be an actual pressure here. I mean, the hate blade can still attack for one every turn, but we've got a real clock here with the river wheel aerialists. So Jack's got
Uh,
a feat of resistance for turn, which might be able to do something interesting, but
the green.
not
There's the
too
Rhino.
helpful. I mean,
There's the
this is the
Rhino.
turning
Or
point. I mean, here's the turning point. He has his green, he has a clock, and he has a siege rhino next turn. So
well, he may very well just flip the Snowhorn actually to do some more damage.
all right, well, we've got double feet of resistance now. I don't know if that's going to be enough to fight through,
Oh my
all the
God.
power here.
Is this lethal? Flying Crane it busted to 10 damage in the air. I think it's lethal if you flying cranes right now.
It's 14.
It is prowess though. 10,
Yeah, it's
10.
14.
Oh, that's exact. Yeah,
I
but he
mean,
doesn't know it obviously.
I think Steve
I
is going to
wouldn't.
respect the two cards in Jack's hand.
Main punish would be the sweeper thing. One
Yeah,
creature.
so
Moonblast.
looks like we're gonna have a new con here for our Mardu. We got Steve T taking the helm here from Jack to close the con matches for week 2. So congratulations to Steve for taking over the Mardu Horde. And we'll see everybody for our feature matches and con matches for week 3 coming up.